It's been a hot minute, but finally getting back within my vinyl collection series. This is part 40 and still within the S's. Other than that, before I get to talking about the records within this part, I just want to give two quick little shout outs here. One, I recently did kind of like a podcast interview, something like that, with one of my Facebook friends, Harris. He has a YouTube channel where he does like continuous episodes of like these podcast types of interviews on his YouTube channel, and he asked me to be a part of it. And it's really interesting how he seeks out all these kind of like unique and interesting people to do this type of series. So I'll leave a link in the description to where you can check the video out where I did with him, along with definitely giving that channel a sub because he's continuously doing stuff like that with the podcast. As well too, doing that made me realize I never actually gave a shout out, and I feel bad because I'm like 7 months late to talking about this. But I also did the same kind of like video structure again, like that, you know, podcast interview type of format with this YouTube channel, JJ Metalhead. And I just feel bad that I actually never gave it like a shout out. But again, I'll have a link in the description as well to that video, along with definitely giving her a subscription because both of these channels do some really cool stuff. But before I get into talking about the records within this vinyl collection part, gotta talk about what's going to be in the background, and that's going to be Thy Catafalque with his 2015 full-length album, Skur. Really awesome, very energetic, and very atmospheric, kind of like avant-garde extreme metal. It's not necessarily black metal, but I don't really know how to describe this. It's just very energetic, fun, kind of like very synth-driven extreme metal. It's so good, and so many people sleep on this band, so definitely check out Thy Catafalque. Kicking off this vinyl collection part is going to be the debut full-length album by Skinliv. This is basically just a very suit and tie, straightforward, raw black metal band. A bit punkish at times with the pacing, but that's really it. Really solid stuff overall, but I got this on Tordigard a while back because it was on the distro for a really cheap price and figured I'd blind buy it, and I've only spun it like 2 times maximum, but that's it. Nothing bad, but nothing to, you know, write home about. Other than that, the layout and packaging I fucking hate so much. I've complained about it numerous times within this series, and I'll keep complaining about it because it's in the over-glorified cardboard jacket paper type of layout, and I can't stand this shit. I really can't stand it because it's so hard to maintain the LP within the jacket, and it's just fucking cheap. Just keep it with a regular jacket, for the love of God. I mean, yeah, the picture of the band inside looks cool, but seriously, I can't stand this shit so much. It irks me so much, and I'll keep complaining about it to the day I die or until I keep collecting records. Other than that, records on black, not like that should be a surprise, and that's really it. Next up is going to be Skit System with their album Stigmata. This is obnoxious crust punk the way it should be. Very ugly, brooding, with just a take no prisoners type of attitude, and it just slays so hard. This is the kind of crust punk I can definitely jam out to. And it reminds me of Martyrdog, but just, again, way more just brooding and obnoxious. It doesn't have like the melodies that Martyrdog plays with, but it still has like the same energy attached with it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Skit System is from Sweden, just like Martyrdog, and I think they've had members exchange before, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me on that if I'm wrong. But yeah, it's, again, crust punk like this, I definitely can dig quite a bit. I'm not really the biggest crust punk fan. The only thing that really bothers me is I got this on Discogs a while back, and they're easy to get, really cheap, and some dipshit decided to put the price tag right on the jacket. It's like, please don't, alright? Because you might have some dork of a nerd who collects records on the regular get really upset when he sees that one of his records has a price tag on it. But anyway, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside of the track listings. Comes with a lyric sheet, and the other side of it is a poster, mini poster I guess you could say, of the album artwork and just comes on a standard black vinyl. Up next is Slavehouse, Taste in Pain. This is just ruthless and savage, kind of like raw black metal punk from the States. And this album slays so hard. It reminds me a little bit of Midnight, but just so much more gritty. That the best way to compare the two is Midnight is kind of like blackened speed punk for guys who are kinda into BDSM, whereas Slavehouse is blackened speed metal punk for guys that are so much into BDSM, it becomes like domestic abuse more than anything, is the best way to compare the two. And just, again, I can't emphasize it enough, this shit is savage, okay, to say the very least. It's harsh and abrasive, vocally and instrumentally, it's just so mean sounding, and I love it. I need to get more by these guys because I know after this release, they have a handful of other releases. They've done splits and I think another full length if I'm not mistaken. And maybe I just haven't kept up with them that much because this debut release was put out through Fallen Empire. And again, sadly that distro and label isn't around anymore because it was such a reliable label. I'm still bummed that it's gone. But I need to get more by Slavehouse. Killer, killer, killer. Can't emphasize it enough. Raw black metal punk from the States. But anyway, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with band logo and album title. Comes with a printed inner sleeve, one side with the track listings, other side with a lady showing her boobies. And this vinyl variant comes on clear. Alright, now for something completely different, that being the debut full-length album by Sleigh Bells, Treats. So these guys are like a two-piece power pop, noise pop group, I believe from LA. And around this time of their debut full-length album, this was where they were like the peak of their popularity and kind of hit a bit of mainstream success. And I know some of their songs were in commercials. They played for a lot of like a late night talk show hosts. And other than that, the only other time they were kind of like in the mainstream's eyes when they randomly had beef with like Demi Lovato for like a week. I remember seeing news outlets about that. But yeah, they've kind of like now dimmed down with popularity over the past handful of years. I know they've released a few other albums, but I would say Treats for the most part is their best, which is weird to say because when I originally heard this for the first time, like maybe back in 2015 or 16, I absolutely hated this album so much because, as I stated earlier, it's labeled as power pop, which from what I gathered from the description, it's like pop music with hard rock guitars, that's how you get like the subgenre of power pop. But it's also tagged under the genre of noise pop. And I was really curious to know what noise and pop music would sound like. And I didn't think it would sound like this because there's really nothing of like actual noise elements here, like, you know, power electronics or any other like crazy subgenre. It's pop music, but the percussions and synth and all the pop elements are just so fucking overblown that it gets pretty overbearing just how obnoxious just the overall beats are with it. It's a very overblown pop album with its production value, and it gets really abrasive for the most part. And again, I just really didn't like it at first, but after giving it like a second and a third and a fourth listen, I just found myself having like this odd attachment with the album. I don't know if it's just because I found a fascination with just how powerful and overblown everything was, that it was just kind of like fun, and I don't know, it just clicked with me, I guess, for the most part. But Sleigh Bells is a group that I personally like, or at least Treats, their debut full-length album. It's an album I really enjoy, but I totally understand why people don't like it, because I can't emphasize it enough. It's very overblown with its percussions and overall production value. Another way to describe it is, think of Gwen Stefani's single Hollaback Girl Think of just the rhythms, the beats, and the overall vibe and attitude of that song. And then you're like, I just want it to be very abrasive. That's what this album is from start to finish. Because the vibe is the same too as Hollaback Girl. It has like that angsty kind of like teenage girl in high school that wants to beat up the popular girl type of mood, I guess is another way to describe it too. But it's the song on here, Rhythm Riot. Really infectious track. But again, I can't stress it enough. It's very explosive, overblown, harsh pop music, and I'll just leave it at that. As well too, a surprise for me is that this album, or at least the LP pressing of this album, is becoming really rare. On Discogs it goes for like a little over $100, and I remember when this used to be very accessible, because I got this in a Newberry Comics a few years back, so really lucked out getting this, but definitely needs a repress because it's kind of become like the fan favorite within their discography. But yeah, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork. Backside, just gotta say, love the AR-15 on the back of it. Comes on a gatefold, which I'm pretty sure those are just kind of like the elementary school pictures of both members. Comes on a standard black vinyl along with an insert booklet that looks like one of those notebooks that you would have in high school when you were a teenager. The album title Treats is on it, and it's just all the lyrics of each song within the booklet of it, with a bit of doodles that gives off again that angsty teenage vibe with it. The only other record I have by Sleigh Bells is their third full-length album, that being Bitter Rivals. So funny enough, I bought this album like back in 2018 because I just wanted more material by Sleigh Bells. Remember listening to it, and the opening track is the title track, that being Bitter Rivals, and man does that song suck, because the hook to it is really cringy. How she gets all like playful and tries to sound like a preppy little teenager, and just, I hate it so much. So in 2019 I remember selling this, and then in 2021 I bought it again because I remembered it actually has my favorite Sleigh Bells song within their discography, that being Young Legends. That is easily their best song, because this is really where they try to be like musicians when it comes to the pop or power pop approach. And I would definitely say to check out that song at the very least if you want to get into Sleigh Bells, because this is where they add in more melody. It's not as overblown with the percussions and overall synthesizers like the debut album, and they kind of really smooth out the production value for the most part. And this is really the only other album by them that I really enjoy. Everything else after this, not a fan of it, because it just gets very tamed, I guess you could also say, but just it gets a little bit too compressed for my liking if you're going to go for the power pop approach. So yeah, Bitter Rivals and Treats are the only two albums I really like by these guys. But again, Young Legends on this album is my personal favorite song of theirs. But other than that, this album's pretty easy to get still on Discogs if you want to get it. But as for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on a gatefold. For some reason it has a bunch of sheets all with different artwork. I'm not really sure what this is about. I don't know if it's kind of like symbols to go along with each track. But yeah, this is all included with the album. This, however, does come with a printed inner sleeve, and the LP variant comes on clear. Right back to black metal we go, only this isn't your everyday average black metal band. Up next is Slutet. This is their demo compilation of their first 3 demos. Now, Slutet is... I feel weird, honestly, calling it a black metal band, because it is by definition and it has elements of it, but the execution is really not anything black metal. Like, to me, they're like a psychedelic rock band trying to be a black metal band, if that makes any sense, because like, some of the riffs and production, I guess, resembles that of black metal, but the vocals, the singing, if you want to call it that, it sounds like a woman just yelling in agonizing pain, okay? It's not like your typical sense of black metal. Like, again, I can't stress it enough. It's like a psychedelic rock band trying to be a black metal band is the best way to describe Slutet. And it's just so unorthodox and bizarre that I just find it fascinating, then it becomes entertaining at the same time. Because honestly, the riffs, whatever they're trying to do with them, are really engaging, and if you're just in the mood for just unorthodox metal at this point, I don't even want to call it black metal, definitely check out Slutet. And to give you another notion as to how weird they are, as I stated, this is their demo compilation of their first 3 demo tapes. Well, if you want those demo tapes, originally when they were sold on their Bandcamp, you could only get them through trade of either giving them blood or hair. So, yeah, they're pretty different, to say the very least, Slutet, and quite the standout. Everything they've done is very intriguing, and if you're in the mood for just weird, and I can't stress that enough, weird black metal, check out Slutet. But yeah, this was put out through Go to Warwick's, got this on Discogs years back, and totally worth the money I paid for it. Nothing too overinflated, but not retail by any means. But as for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside, and just comes on a standard black vinyl. Then I have their EP, Jihad. Out of all the releases I have of Slutet, I would definitely say this is my least favorite because it's more of like a narrative than just, you know, crazy, weird black metal psychedelic riffs. Because on the back right here, well, those are all the lyrics. It's more just like a rambling piece of just what they view as jihad, as to opposed to like the instrumental weirdo take that they did with the demos. I mean, it's still interesting and I'm glad I have it, but out of everything I have, like as I stated, it's my least favorite and I don't play it all that much, but still a pretty cool collection piece that, I mean, the first track's pretty cool, the second track not so much, but again, a mixture of psychedelic rock and black metal, and I say that because it's like, I know they're consistently labeled one, but they're not a black metal band in the traditional sense, to say the very least. But again, put out through Go to Warwick's, and as for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the 2 tracks and all the lyrics, and once again comes on a standard black vinyl. The last record I have by Slutet is their debut full-length album, Love and Beauty. Wow, this album is amazing. Holy shit, they blew my expectations with this. When I found out that Slutet was finally going to do a debut full-length album, I was like, okay, here we go again, just more weird psychedelic rock, black metal. No, not here. Like, the black metal elements are turned up significantly and the psychedelic rock is turned down. It's like they switched the 2 styles around in terms of influence, and my god, they just blew it out of the park with this album. One of the best black metal albums for me personally of the year it was released, I believe in 2020, and just seriously, this is really powerful stuff by these guys. I just didn't think they would go down this direction. I mean, even the vocals are way more harsh and more reminiscent of what we expect within black metal. It's a bummer that they disbanded right after this album. I guess they just wanted to make one full length and call it a day, because I'm pretty sure all the members now are on all other different projects. But honestly, guys, if you want more of like the black metal approach with Slutet, Love and Beauty, an incredible album that just, again, blew my expectations significantly. And I don't even care that it was put through Go to Warx and I had to, you know, hit the F5 like a bajillion times. I was not missing out on getting a vinyl press of this album, I can tell you that. But as for the layout and packaging with this, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings and band members. Comes on a gatefold, double LP on plain black vinyl, but also includes an A2 poster, some really trippy looking artwork that I would expect with Slutet. Up next, I have Snorlax with the debut full-length album by this one-man death metal project from Australia, I believe, and I think I also did an album review for this when it was released back in 2020, and just, yeah, really solid, cryptic, dingy, old school death metal for the most part. A bit doomish at times with its approach, but yeah, if you're just in the mood for old school death metal, Snorlax, this full length, really solid stuff. Nothing, you know, breaking new grounds or reinventing the wheel, but for all the people that enjoy old school death metal, definitely check them out. I think the thing that really sold me about them, or him I should say, is the name Snorlax. It's just named after that Pokemon for whatever reason, which is why I just had to check it out. And yeah, I was just pleasantly surprised at how solid this release was. But yeah, put out through Brilliant Emperor Records, which I've never heard of this label, but it was limited to 150 copies. I'm pretty sure it's long gone sold out. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes with an insert sheet, one side with all the credits, other side with the sole member with his dog standing right next to him. And this LP variant comes on silver gray marble, and as I stated, it's limited to 150 copies. The remaining records for this part are all by the same band, and I've been a fan of them ever since I started doing YouTube, because I discovered them when I was keeping up with you know, all the big labels like Season of Mist, Relapse, you know, labels like that, and seeing what they were promoting. And Season of Mist really promoted these guys quite a bit around 2014, which I'll get to that album later on within this part. But I remember discovering them, loving them on first listen, and I've always been a fan of them ever since. And we started off with the debut full-length album, but that band is Solstafir. This is their debut album, I believe. I really can't pronounce it correctly, but it translates to In Blood and Spirit. Solstafir was originally one of the first ever black metal bands from Iceland. And they transitioned to something completely different, which I'll be talking about real soon. But I discovered them in 2014 with their album Auta. And the debut just really made me scratch my head, because they're a black metal band here. It's very harsh, it's very upbeat, there's blast beats, tremolo pick guitars, wretched vocals, just all the things that my brain just couldn't accept at the time Solstafir sounding like. The debut full-length album, they were a black metal band, and it's just weird to listen to. Like, I have it for the collection piece because I got this at Armageddon years back, but when I'm in the mood for Solstafir, this is like the last thing I'm like picking in the shelves when I'm in the mood for Solstafir. But yeah, if I'm in the mood for black metal, yeah, I'll listen to it because it's pretty solid for the most part. I mean, again, nothing groundbreaking, but yeah, Solstafir was a black metal band. It was kind of weird to accept for a while. But this was put out through Season of Mist, a repress. I'm pretty sure it's still available on their website, not that hard to get, and just, yeah, really cool for the collection piece. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold with all the lyrics inside, and is just on double LP plain black vinyl. The next record I have by them is their third full-length album, Cold. So I don't have their sophomore full-length because that one's pretty hard to get. I think I only got like a one and only time press in. But their third full-length album right here, Cold, put out through Savart Records. I think it actually has a third pressing as well. And I got this at the Maryland Death Fest, I think 2016, the year I went, one of the vendors had this. And speaking of the Maryland Death Fest, I'm considering going now because recently they talked about that this year might be like actually their last year ever, because 2023 they're not planning on doing one, and they're not really sure if they're going to even come back at all in 2024 and the years after. So I might have to put in a lot of overtime or ask for it to actually go this year. Not so much for like the lineup, but more of just like going for one last hurrah. But anyway, getting back on track here. So Cold, their third full length right here, is really where they start to transition quite a bit. Because instrumentally, yes, it still has like that Viking metal, if you want to call that an actual genre, and black metal, like instrumentally it's there, but now vocally they're starting to do clean singing and has more of like a post-rock kind of like pacing and atmosphere kind of oozing in more and more. This is really where they blend those two styles that they played around with within their discography, like almost 50-50, and it's a really unique album. And I would say it's my second favorite within their catalog, because somehow, even with like these very powerful like black metal riffs and the very harmonizing, clean singing, they made it work with this album, and it's honestly beautiful as it is rugged for the most part, and definitely an album to listen to. It's a really unique experience of an album. But yeah, as I stated, this is their third full length. Tracks on here to check out: 78 Days in the Desert, the title track, Pale Rider, and World Void of Souls is probably my personal favorite song. But as I stated, my second favorite Solstafir album. But as for the layout and packaging, rip this album getting monetized. Because here's the album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on a gatefold once again of the album artwork. This also includes an insert sheet with lyrics along with a band picture on the other side, and is just on double LP plain black vinyl. Then I have their fourth full-length album. I'm going it by, you know, third, fourth, fifth, because I really do not want to butcher the pronunciation of these albums. But yes, Solstafir's fourth full length. At this point now, black metal is completely gone. There is some, you know, metal moments still within it that gives off, again, that Viking metal similar to that of Enslaved without, you know, the black metal portions of it. Or like a more tamed and less like battle-hardened Bathory, I guess is another way to put it, with how the metal is kind of played out here. But there's more elements of post-rock, even psychedelic rock to a certain extent, that again, it's very beautiful and breathtaking as it is rugged. And I feel like the purpose of that approach is to give off the imagery and vibe of what Iceland looks like, because, you know, here I am being like all going off of personal experience, but that's what Iceland is. It's a very beautiful but rugged terrain, and Solstafir kind of mirrors that imagery with their music, and I think that's what just really clicks with me so much with these guys. And really everything they've done basically I've just fallen in love with. And their fourth full-length album is another great album to check out. It's 78 minutes long, I believe. I know it's over an hour, but every minute, so good. But yeah, put out through Season of Mist. Pretty sure this one's still easy to get on Season of Mist as well. Just overall, if you want to get Solstafir material, go on to Season of Mist or Savart. But as for the layout and packaging with this album, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold with imagery for each track and lyrics, and again comes on standard black vinyl. And of course, I also have my personal favorite album of theirs within my collection that I fell head over heels hard for them when this album dropped back in 2014. That being Auta. This album is so gorgeous from start to finish. This would be their first album where they have completely evaporated and just detached themselves from anything metal. I know some people like to tag this as post-metal, and again, I'm not hearing anything metal about the album other than like the density of the atmosphere is just very thick and engulfs the listener. But again, there's nothing metal about it. It's more of like a post-rock, psychedelic rock mixture that's just very lush and has like that rugged vibe and just aesthetic and beauty of Iceland, which of course Solstafir does, because that's what their concept is always with the lyrics. But actually the concept overall with this album, from what I remember, is that there's 8 tracks within the album, and each song represents 3 hours within the day of Iceland. So the first song kind of represents, you know, the time period between like midnight to 3 a.m. in Iceland. The second song is 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Like, you get the idea of what they're doing with these songs is what each track represents, from what I remember. But seriously, every single song, there's like at least one melody, one hook, one chorus that is just so easy to get immersed in. It's just a very lush album that I had to listen to like numerous times repeatedly when I was driving through Iceland. Like, this was the album that was just like stuck within my car. I just couldn't get enough of this album, and I still love it to this day. Easily their best within their catalog. I would say that if you're a fan of psychedelic rock, post-rock, but you just want it very dense and lush, you gotta listen to it. You have to listen to this album. Again, should still be available on Season of Mist. I know they did a handful of represses for it, and again, I know I'm repeating myself, easily their best. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold, double LP with printed inner sleeve, so side 1 with lyrics, side 2 with artwork, along with the second printed inner sleeve, so you have side 3 with more lyrics, and side 4. Love that photography. That's how, honestly, the beaches look within Iceland. And this LP variant comes on crystal clear vinyl. Then comes the 6th full-length album by Solstafir, which I was so hyped for when this album was released back in 2017. So hyped, I was like, yes, if it's anything like Auto, it's gonna be perfect. It's Album of the Year contender already. So happy. And then it dropped, and I got it in the mail, and I was pretty disappointed for the most part with this album, because I believe this is their first album where they don't have their original drummer, and I mean, wow, it lacks all of like the lush atmosphere that I really enjoyed with them, and you get more of like an indie rock vibe with like elements of folk here and there that just doesn't really work. Like, it's just so like, there's nothing really special about it, and it's kind of heartbreaking, because I don't hate it, but compared to everything else, especially Auto, there's really not much to really get immersed with the album. It just feels like very radio-friendly Solstafir. And yeah, I've only spun it 2 times. First time, you know, obviously eager to listen to it, disappointed. Second time to give it another chance and didn't click with it. And other than it being a collection piece, yeah, there's not much else to say about it, and I'm really bummed with it. So yeah, their 6th full length, not really crazy for it. But anyway, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold. Love that artwork, by the way. I know that is one of the many mountains you will find if you go to Iceland. Double LP, both on printed inner sleeves, so you have side 1 with lyrics, side 2 with a band photo, along with side 3 with more additional lyrics, and side 4 with more artwork. And this LP variant comes on bone white, limited to 100 copies. And the last record for this vinyl collection part, and the latest Solstafir album, is their 7th full-length album that was released back in 2020. Now, I was ready to give these guys another chance because after just one slip-up for my standards within their discography, still eager to hear what Solstafir would do next. And this full length right here, really they're kind of going back to their roots, so to say, because it's more of like a metal approach. There's, you know, tremolo pick guitars. It's actually some usage of blast beats within the album. And hell, they even do a bit of screaming with a few tracks within it. So they're kind of going back to like the old school approach of how they originally started Solstafir anyway. The other thing too that's kind of a standout is I believe, I don't know which song it is, it might be The Fall from Grace probably. This is the first album of theirs that they would ever sing in English, because they've always done it in their native language of Icelandic, which was a really big shocker to me when I heard this single 4. I was like, really, they're doing it in English? That was just, it was weird, but yeah, kind of changing it up a bit with their approach. But again, if you enjoy like the first 4 albums of Solstafir, instrumentally you'll probably dig this album right here because they're trying to recapture that approach with it. But again, put it through Season of Mist, so like always, as I keep saying, go to Season of Mist if you want to get Solstafir LPs. As for the layout and packaging with the album, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold with a band photo inside. This includes a big ass booklet with lyrics and photography for each song within it. Double LP that come on printed inner sleeves. So again, side 1 and 2, along with side 3 and 4. And this LP variant comes on blue with like black and white splatter in the middle. Looks really funky and is limited to 150 copies. Alright guys, that'll do it for this vinyl collection part. Like always, links will be provided to everything I've talked about in the description below, and that is that. So like always guys, make sure you guys drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, and have a great day.